Welcome back, guys, to Phoenix Wright, a Spirit of Justice, where last episode we completed the rite of Turnabout, finding out that Believe in Me was the one who killed Perez a lot, and that her husband, Trust in Me, committed suicide to cover up that fact, with Maya then declared not guilty, and now with even more going on with the whole rebel faction, the DC Culpability Act, more stuff revealed in Khura'in. Are we sticking there? Well, as I move over to our episode 4, the splash screen reveals that it might be more something to do with Athena Sykes, back over in our normal land. So, shall we start? Shall we begin? Let's see what cutscenes there are that will bring us in as episode 4, Turnabout Storyteller begins.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What time is it? It's 9, 10, 11.
12? What? Shisho's dead. No. Do you think he did it? Oh no. If he did, then what do we do? Hey, pull yourself together. Don't worry. I have an idea. An old man has been murdered somewhere, and we find ourselves in the district courtroom number, which one? Defendant lobby number 6. Which means, are we being thrust into the middle of yet another case? What the heck? Who brings a defendant to his own trial late? Plus, the request was so last minute, I didn't even have a chance to talk to my client. He's late for a very important date. My name is Athena Sykes. Armed with analytical psychology and a full arsenal of legal know-how, I'm a fully competent defender of the Wright Anything Agency. I wish my client would show up already. The trial's about to start. Appears we made it just in time. Where have you been? The trial's about to start, Simon. You needn't get so worked up, Athena. His boldness can wait. There's no way he'd wait for me. And besides, why would I want to start off on the wrong foot with him right out the gate? Dealing with such matters is part of being a lawyer, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, well, coming for your lateness is not. Still but a rank amateur, I see. This is Simon Blackquill. He might not look it, but he's actually a prosecutor and a psychology specialist. He and I go way back. As for our shared specialization in psychology, we're both disciples of the same person, so to speak. But he's kind of my senior, I guess. But twisted sense of humor or no, I wish he'd stop treating me like a child all the time. So, where are Wright Dono and Justice Dono? Mr. Wright is abroad and Apollo is helping Trucy with a magic show. Didn't I tell you? They're what? So neither one of them are here, leaving you to take this on alone? Yep. Ye gods. Call Wright Dono back. It's not too late. Oh no, not too late at all. He would only need to know how to teleport. Very well. Then I will settle for Justice Dono. Go grab him by the horns and drag him here. Apollo is literally in the middle of a show, Simon. You may not want to admit it, but I've got what it takes to take on this case. Just leave this to me and go watch from the gallery. As your defense derails in spectacular fashion. No, as I win the heck out of this trial! I'll be okay. Promise. So wipe that look off your face already, will you? Anyway, I take it the guy behind you is... Yes, he's asleep again. Oi, Bucky, wake up! Yeah! Ow! What'd you do that for, Simmy? What? Who is this yellow chickadee? She's your lawyer, such as it were. I'd say she's more green than yellow, however. Lawyer? She sure doesn't look it, does she? Is she like your fellow apprentice or something? Something like that. I've known her longer than I've known you. You could say we're bound to one another. Oh, okay. Well then. Guess I better call her Miss Chickadee then. Simon, this guy's not only rude, but he's 3 sheets to the wind at his own trial. I know we just met, but I'm about ready to give him a piece of my mind. Do as you will, just save it for after the trial. Miss Chickadee? Don't call me that! How'd you do? Simmy is an old friend of mine. I'm the 4th generation head chef for Wet Soba. Wet noodle number 4, Bucky Wet. Nice to meet you, not buckwheat then. It's nice to meet you too, Mr. Wet. So he can pull himself together when he wants to. Should I call him Wheat? I don't know. If only the trial wasn't started in a few minutes. Having been accused of a murder that only occurred yesterday, I'm afraid it's taken a toll on the poor boy. And you happened to be there at the theatre where it all happened too, right? They said they found a Rakugo storyteller murdered in his dressing room, Rakugo. Indeed. The victim, Master Storyteller Taifu Tornado, nice name, was a long-time patron of Wet Soba. Master Tornado had been looking after Bucky ever since Wet Noodle number 3 passed away. I see, so the victim was kind of like a father to the defendant, huh? That stupid old fart. Like a father? Nah, way, he was always just Soba. How dare you speak ill of him? Running your mouth like that is why they suspected you of his murder in the first place. Now pull yourself together. Number 3 must be rolling in his grave. But Simmy! The police, none of them believes me. They won't listen to me. Looks like he's still in shock from the whole ordeal. Don't worry, Mr. Wheat. Everyone's gonna be alright. Or everything is, anyway. Not sure about everyone. You might have alcohol poisoning, I don't know. I'm gonna defend you with everything I've got. You're in good hands now. You mean, you believe me, ma'am? Of course. No matter what, I'll believe in you to the very end. Gee whiz, Miss Chickadee. Now come on, I need you to shape up. Just like those al dente noodles of yours. Yes, ma'am. My Soba is the freshest. Mr. Wheat, whatever. Bucky, you great big pillock. So, how exactly did you know this guy? I used to frequent Wet Soba, and still do. I should call it Wheat. I'm gonna call it Wheat from now. Wheat Soba. And still do, in fact. So I've known him since he was a lad. That's why his father and Master Tornado were always so good to me. I didn't know you liked Soba so much, Simon. I wouldn't expect one such as you, who eats meat slapped between slabs of bread, to understand the delicate taste and the subtle textures imparted by buckwheat flour. Hey, that's just rude. But I digress. What about flavour and subtlety and stuff? If I let Wet Soba end like this, Wheat Soba, I'll never be able to face number 3 or Master Tornado in the next life. Ah, I see. And that's why you came to me. You wanted somebody you could trust. It was never my intention to ask you. I'll show him. I'll show him I can handle it just fine. Well, I believe it's just about time. What? But we haven't even properly discussed the case yet. What's the matter? You look nervous, Athena. Don't tell me you're chickadeeing out. I'm just trembling with the excitement of the battle, that's all. Alf Gates, let's do this. Come on, Mr. Wheat. Get off the floor. We've got a case to win. Yes, Miss Chickadee. I'm going to do my best.
Wet Soba. Wet Soba.
It's wet.
Wet Soba. Wet Soba. Wet Soba.
Thank you for telling me at the very least. Wet wheat? I don't know. I know the pun is that. Still. Yellow. 2 bowls of noodles. Sorry, sir. No can do. Kind of busy at the courthouse. Day up. Okay. Let's do this. He's not going to do himself or this case any favours like this, Simon. Maybe we should let him go get some rest somewhere? Let me rest.
Maybe if I were a lump of regular flour dough for udon noodles. But I'm fresh like my Soba. And you don't let Soba dough rest. It's all about the free freshes. Ground the buckwheat seeds fresh. Cut the dough fresh. Pour the noodle
He's blacked out. Oh boy, I just knew something like this would happen. Simon, what are these free freshes of Soba he was talking about? First, buckwheat seeds, or groats, are ground to make buckwheat flour. Then dough made with this flour is cut with a large rectangular knife into noodles. And finally, the buckwheat noodles are boiled. Each step is done immediately, one after the other, so that the Soba is fresh when eaten. Oh, so that's what he meant. I wouldn't want him to make me any Soba right now, though, that's for sure. Athena, this is no time for idle chatter. You need to get into the courtroom now. Just remember, as a prosecutor, I will be unable to lend you a hand. So don't expect any help from my quarter. There you go, treating me like I'm incompetent again. For your information, I wasn't planning on asking you for help anyway. Just you wait, Simon. I'll show you. Mr. Wright and Apollo may not be here, but that's alright. I can do this on my own. And so we head into the courtroom, knowing nothing but the free freshes. There were 3 Soba guys ahead of this one, and that he's very inebriated. And out like a light. So who are we going to get some information from? I need some information.
Court is now in session for the trial of Bucky Wet.
The defense is ready, Your Honor. What are you doing here? The prosecution is fully prepared, Your Honor.
What's this? No pay this time, Prosecutor said Maddie.
That is correct, Your Honor. To expedite these proceedings, I completed them beforehand in the lobby.
How very thoughtful of you. And by the way, what brings you back to this country?
Chief Prosecutor Edgeworth himself called on me to handle this case. Besides, I have a debt to repay. And though my opponent is yet a callow thing, I have no qualms with sending her down to hell.
Objection!
If you have a score to settle, it's with Apollo, not me. But more importantly, I am not a callow thing. I'm a qualified and capable attorney. Then what is that yellow attire, if not proof of your immaturity, you small spring chick? Now, cease your shrill chirping.
And now, Prosecutor said Maddie. She is still only a teenager. Please go easy on her.
Great, now even the judges give me the kid treatment. Very well. Shall we begin, Your Honor?
Yes, I suppose we should. Now then, Prosecutor said Maddie, please give your opening statement.
I'll show them what I can do. They'll be sorry they underestimated me. Certainly. Let the last rites of the victim commence. The incident is believed to have occurred at around 4 PM yesterday, May 12th, at a storyteller's theatre called Kulu Kulu Te. The victim was a great master of the Tornado School of Rakugo, or comedic storytelling. His name was Taifu Tornado. The scene of the murder was the theatre's dressing room. It is accessible via the staff entrance hallway and has an inner and outer sliding door. A backstage diagram has now been added to the court record. We're going to get our information firsthand, it seems. Well, not firsthand. Second hand, third hand, fourth hand, I don't know. Just here. The estimated time of death is between 2 PM and 5 PM. The cause of death is suffocation, but how the victim suffocated is yet to be determined. The autopsy found nothing unusual in his lungs or stomach, and there is no murder weapon. I will now submit the incident report to the court. The crime scene report has now been added to the court record. The crime took place in the theatre dressing room. Master Tornado was found with his face thrust into a large Soba bowl. Taifu's autopsy report is added to the court record. The time of death is between 2 PM and 5 PM. The cause of death is suffocation. Didn't sound like what he was saying, but still. That's nothing that anyone in here would know. Prosecutor Samari, how can you name Mr. Wet as the culprit when you don't know how the victim was killed, or even with what? While it is true that the weapon and precise method are as yet unknown, the accused is the only one who had the opportunity to commit the murder. I will explain this assertion in further detail as we continue. I guess this means he has some kind of evidence to present. Now, would the accused care to plead his case?
Yeah, that's not going to go well. Come to think of it, where is the defendant, Miss Sykes?
Sorry, Your Honour, but I'm afraid Mr. Wet isn't feeling very well and is resting in the infirmary. Surely it is a lack of a clear conscience that impedes him from facing this court. Great, starting off on the wrong foot already. Mr. Wet is the head chef of a soba shop frequented by the victim. On the day of the incident, Mr. Wet went to the theatre at the victim's request. Typhoon Tornado was a connoisseur soba, as you can see in these photographs. He was apparently making soba himself in his dressing room that very day. The soba found on the scene is likely the soba he himself made there. Liking soba is one thing, but making it in a theatre dressing room's a bit much, no?
Master Tornado truly had a passion for soba, didn't he? For a man like that to be murdered by a soba chef is simply unthinkable.
And yet, the accused had ample motive. For in the victim's safe, we discovered the deed to the accused's shop. Mr. Wet was to inherit Wet Soba when he lost his father recently. However, it's believed the victim stole the shop's deed during the transfer process. The prosecution believes the accused killed the victim in order to get the deed back. Found in the victim's possession is the deed for the soba shop. The deed holder is Bucky Wet.
A murder with a deed to a shop. That does sound like a plausible motive.
So that's what this case is about. I wish Simon had filled me in a little better. I could have contributed more than just 1,000 buckets of cold sweat if he had. Defense. From your demeanor, I gather you know very little about the details of this case. Well, you see... You are dishonoring the soul of the victim by appearing in the courtroom unprepared. You are an embarrassment to your profession, you putrid egg yolk. Ha! I'm sorry! Apollo's a red pepper and now I'm an egg yolk? We've only just started and I've already been demoted from spring chick. I'm ready to call my witness, Your Honor. Let us listen to the words of one who was present when the crime was discovered. Someone who was there when the victim's body was found.
Very well. Witness, please take the stand.
Witness, please state your name and occupation.
Simon Blackquill, prosecutor.
Prosecutor Blackwell? You didn't tell me you were going to take the stand.
There simply wasn't time.
What a shame, Prosecutor Blackwell. Had you shared the damning scene you witnessed beforehand with the defense, we could have moved this trial along and saved the victim's soul that much faster. Damning scene? What in the world did Simon see?
It's more about what Simon says. Prosecutor Samari, was it? Before I give my testimony, there's something I'd like to confirm.
By all means.
This case involves Rakugo, a very traditional form of Japanese comedic storytelling. Do you have enough knowledge of this art form to handle the case competently?
Are you implying that I am not qualified for this case?
Not yet. I'm simply trying to ascertain your familiarity with the topic, for now.
It is a prosecutor's duty to learn the background of any case he takes on. I did some research on Rakugo last night, and have grasped the overall idea of it.
How much could you possibly grasp in a single night?
Rakugo is a form of entertaining storytelling that originated in the land of Japan. In it, the storyteller sits alone on the stage with only a fan and a towel as And the Rakugo artist tells long, whimsical stories, giving each character a distinctive voice. This traditional art was originally invented by monks to make sermons more interesting. Are you satisfied? If not, I could explain the 12 types of endings to such stories. Or shall I perform the famous story of Jugamu instead?
It appears you have put in a bit of study.
Your acknowledgement is most welcome, Prosecutor Blackwell.
I can see why you are known for being quite thorough in your research, Prosecutor. And now, I would love to see you perform that story you mentioned, if you don't mind.
If that is your honor's request. Jugamu. Your honor, could we please get back to the trial?
Oh, right. Of course. I nearly forgot.
Seriously? All the things for you to forget.
Now then, back to the case. Prosecutor Blackwell, please tell this court what you witness.
What Simon saw.
I went to the theater yesterday and arrived at approximately 4 p.m. I went straight to Master Tornado's dressing room to say hello. Bucky went into the dressing room thereafter, only to come storming out a while later. Master Tornado's junior disciple, Uendo even, apparently then entered the room soon after. That's when Uendo discovered Master Tornado's body.
That you, Endo? Now, wait just a minute here, Prosecutor Blackwell. With testimony like that, you're practically accusing Mr. Wet of the crime.
All I can do is state what I saw. I can't help how it appears. But a qualified and capable attorney such as you should be able to dispatch with it, right?
Well, yeah, duh. Alright, I guess I better start by getting all the info out of him that I can.
And so the cross-examination comes. All I can do is press. I went to the theater yesterday and arrived at approximately 4 p.m. I was wondering before I do anything I should look at the autopsy report a little bit further. Let's look at what we got here, actually. In amongst all the evidence. Diagram of the backstage area showing the location of the stage, the dressing room, and the yard. So you see a yard, we know a dog is present. This could be important. The staff entrance, essentially you could come in from the yard and maybe they would say then that the dog would attack anyone who tried to come in through the back. But maybe it's a guard doggy kind of thing, but then maybe that area is closed off, I don't know. It looks like if you shut the door on it, it would close it off after all. Stage, etc. Will that come into it at all? I do not know. The crime took place in the theater dressing room. He was found with his face in a bowl of soba. He's got lots of whatever that is down the right hand side. I'm not even sure myself. I mean, everything was prepared right there and then. The fridge was still open. Dressing room's just a bit weird to begin with. Those cards on the table as well. The victim was making soba noodles from scratch in the dressing room. The room is covered in soba flour. There are 2 drink cans in the fridge. Okay then. Thank you for such a delicate report. Or delicate? There's barely anything in it. Cause of death, suffocation. Nothing was found in his lungs. So not drowning kind of suffocation. So that hints, of course, that he was suffocated before his head ended up in the bowl of soba. Between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. time of death. Unfortunately, that puts you on the scene, doesn't it, Simon? And the wet soba deed. That's what we've got currently. Now it's time to press now that we've examined what evidence we have to play with at this point in time.
Hold it!
Prosecutor Blackwell, what did you go to the theatre for in the first place?
I went because I had received an invitation from Master Tornado. Here, see for yourself. It was a special show commemorating his junior disciple Uendo's promotion. It was also an occasion to announce the boy's succession to the stage name of Uendo II.
So what exactly does it mean to succeed to a stage name?
You really don't know, do you? In the performing arts, a name succession is when an artist inherits a predecessor's name.
I see. So there was another Uendo Rakugo artist before and his disciples succeeded him, huh? And what exactly did your invitation say?
It
contained a simple letter of salutations and an outline of the show's program. Oh, it appears Saifu Tornado was going to perform Toki Soba, or Time Soba. He's famous for his masterful pantomime of eating soba, using only his fan as a prop. And Wendo was to perform Soba Say, or Soba Glutton, a soba-themed show, I see. It seems you know a thing or two about Rakugo yourself, your boldness. The first to perform was the senior disciple Gelu, followed by Wendo. And lastly, Master Tornado. Alright, the invitation Simon received from Master Tornado to the show commemorating Wendo's name succession and promotion has now been added to the court record. I see. So that's why you happened to be at the Storyteller's theatre yesterday. So what happened after you arrived? Let's examine this extra little bit a bit better. See if there's any stuff to check out before I read this sentence. There is some more details here. Inside the envelope for the invitation was a ticket to the show and a letter from the victim. The letter contained a simple greeting and a rundown of the show's program. Gelu was to perform her balloon act, then Wendo was to do his sober glutton routine, and finally Master Tornado was to perform his time sober routine. So why is there 2 sobers and then no other sober if it's sober themed? I don't know. Maybe that's going to be a point. I went straight to Master Tornado's dressing room to say hello. And how did Master Tornado appear when you said hello to him? I went with the intention of greeting him, but ultimately we didn't actually meet. You didn't see him? Why not? Gelu escorted me to the dressing room, but we heard the sound of Rakugo being performed from within. Thinking the master was rehearsing, we decided to wait in the hall until he was done. You heard Rakugo being performed in the dressing room? Yes, not just me, but Gelu as well. In other words, you can confirm that the victim was still alive at around 4 PM? Correct. I couldn't hear him clearly through the doors, but I'm sure it was Master Tornado. I could tell because it was the time sober routine being performed in there. So that means the victim was killed sometime after that. Bucky went into the dressing room thereafter, only to come storming out a while later. Please tell us in detail how Mr. Wet appeared at the time. Gelu and I were waiting in the hallway for Master Tornado to finish practicing, when Bucky appeared and entered the dressing room with his things. What happened after that? We heard what sounded like Bucky shouting inside the room. About 10 minutes later, Bucky came back out of the dressing room looking rather irate. This is most likely when the murder was committed. The victim was an elderly man. It would have been entirely possible to kill him within the span of 10 minutes. I better come up with some kind of counter-argument and fast. Master Tornado's junior disciple Wendo apparently then entered the room soon after. What do you mean by apparently? Didn't you see him go in? No, I couldn't. I wasn't able to see the dressing room door from where I was standing at the time. But Gelu was standing in front of it, so I'm sure she saw it all. Wait, what? Are you standing in front of the dressing room door? You seem to be standing in front of the yard door. I see. And why do you suppose Wendo went to the dressing room anyway? He had just finished his routine, so he was making a courtesy call. A disciple is to pay their master respect right before and after each performance. And all disciples are expected to do this? Yes, it's common courtesy among Rakugo artists. I see. Could you tell us what happened after Wendo went into the dressing room? Certainly. That's when Wendo discovered Master Tornado's body. The fourth statement looks interesting in a moment. And how did Wendo act at the time? After Wendo had been in the dressing room for 2 or 3 minutes, we heard a scream from inside the room and Wendo came flying out. Did you hear any signs of a struggle at that time? No, just Wendo's woeful scream. I see. Well done, Prosecutor Blackwell. Your testimony has given us quite a glimpse into the sequence of events. Thank you, Prosecutor Blackwell. And now, please allow me to summarize your testimony. While Prosecutor Blackwell and Gelu were in the hallway waiting for Master Tornado, The accused came along and entered the dressing room with some items in tow. He was heard shouting for a time inside the dressing room. About 10 minutes later, he came back out of the room, seemingly rather angry. A short time after the accused had come and gone, Uendo Tornado went into the room. A few minutes later, after having discovered the victim's body, Uendo gave a scream and came running out into the hallway from within. Prosecutor Blackwell and Gelu then ran into the room and saw the body for themselves. Maybe I was taking things too literally with things that were being said, eh? From the circumstances, it is quite clear the accused murdered the victim. It is crucial testimony indeed. Simon's statement has been added to the court record. Even more stuff, so it seems like there we just had to press. I was still looking for something to present to, when, of course, it's a case where we don't know what's going on. We've just been stuck into it. Usually that first testimony is just press all the way. Defense. An eyewitness is giving conclusive testimony. Why not let it all go now and allow the victim his last rites? Well, because we can. Because we're asked to by Simon. Because we have bonds. Because that's not how we do things in the Wright Anything Agency. Nayuta said Maddie. But for this episode, for the start of Turnabout Storyteller, we say goodbye, as we will continue on next time. I'll see you guys around more for more Spirit of Justice. Bye-bye.